A woman should be who and what she wants. We support the multifaceted woman. The woman embracing many titles, undertaking different ventures, and building generational wealth. You are a Jackie of all trades, master of your empire. Enterprise Empress, you are an unstoppable force. Hey everybody, we are live again on our favorite Fridays with today's Jackie Show. We are so excited if this is your first time tuning in, and if you're a continuous guest, well, thank you for always supporting us. We call it today's Jackie Show because we interview women who are Jackie of all trades, master of her empire. Let me say that again because it's important. A Jackie of all trades, master of her empire. I am one of your co-hosts, Sharon.
I'm Natalie. Hello.
Nady Hornsby.
And today we have our guest from the Mexican American Council, Marilu Villa. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're
Thank
so
you
happy
so
to
much.
have you.
Thank you for having me.
Excited you're with us.
So we want to tell you a little bit about what we do at Enterprise Empress and why we interview women from the community. So these are women who are embracing many titles, undertaking many ventures, and building generational wealth. A lot of times we talk about the men who are doing this in the community, but sometimes we forget to mention the women who are doing it and the women behind the men who are doing it. So when we contacted Eddie about having Mexican American Council represented today, he said the woman behind the scenes is Marilu. So Marilu, tell us all of your titles besides just Mexican American Council Program Manager.
Yes, correct.
So tell us your titles.
Okay, so first of all, I am a daughter. I am a sister. Family is important to me. So those are my very first titles. I'm a former farm worker and first generation college student, trailblazer. A lot of the times people describe that for me, and to finish off, the program manager for the Mexican American Council. It's so important for me.
Well, welcome.
We're happy to have you. We're going to dig into that trailblazer during this conversation.
Yes.
Just so you're prepared.
And we cannot bypass Nady this month.
I know. So I am just so excited because when you said first generation, I'm also first generation American, and it's difficult navigating that world because your parents don't speak the language and you're like in this middle awkward place. So I'm just so excited to talk about what you do and how you meet us where we're at.
Yes. Oh, yeah. There's so many titles. Latina,
absolutely.
Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yes. So we told Marilu and Nady that because it's Hispanic Heritage Month and we have two Latinas on the show, today we're going to do a Spanglish show, right? We're going to be speaking English and Spanish. So whatever Natalie and I don't know, we're going to learn for those who don't know it. So
we're going to do an impromptu lesson.
Right.
There
We're
we
doing
go.
an impromptu lesson. Speed language. That's what we're doing. Speed lesson, right? So Marilu, you mentioned that you were the first in your family to graduate from college.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that in your family.
So I am the oldest of 6 children. So definitely took on a lot of roles, like the parenting role when my parents were out in the fields or in nurseries at the time as I grew up. So I, just really liked school more than anything. And because I had those responsibilities, being the oldest of 6, one of my biggest responsibilities was making sure that my siblings finished their homework after school. And it was just something that was so natural to me. I love learning new things, new concepts, and being able to teach other people what I learned was probably the best for me growing up. So I really liked school and graduated from Homestead Senior High. I'm born and raised in Homestead, and was able to achieve or obtain enough scholarships to go to college. And so my parents didn't know too much about the education system in the United States, being first generation here. So a lot of the times I had to learn things on my own. And it was very challenging. I faced so many barriers, and very few people were able to help me through the process. So it was just, thrown into the fire. I had high school teachers tell me, here's an application, fill it out. And a lot of the times it's intimidating and scary because you don't know what's going to happen if I fill out this form. And so, but I took a chance, filled out the forms that were given to me, got accepted into a university, and was able to finish. And so that's how I got involved with the education portion. And just throughout college, my entire life, volunteering in the community was just second nature for me. Always kept myself busy, and I love helping people, so it was just natural to seek this path as life went on.
So that's all of the right traits for a program manager, someone who is family oriented, because the people you serve become your family.
Yes.
Right. And then someone who has a passion for education, someone who likes to teach, and someone who cares a lot for other people and for their community, but also someone who's a trailblazer, which are all of the traits of a multifaceted woman, an enterprise woman, right? So you're like the perfect representation of what we call Enterprise Empress. So welcome, Empress, again.
Oh, thank you. And I didn't know it could be a career. It was just, I just did it for free. And I continue to do it. And it's so important to have mentors in your life. I think when we talk about being trailblazers, yes, we are opening the path for so many people, but we learn from others as well. So I think that is what made me who I am now.
One thing you said that I thought was important is you said you did it for free, right? And I think that's important because that's where you find what you're passionate about. So many times people don't know or can't identify what they're passionate about. But I always say, find that thing you'll do for free. Because that's the thing that you love, that you're passionate about, because you're willing to give it away. And then figure out how to make money doing it.
I didn't know. I could work in this.
You can work, right.
I can pay my bills with this.
That's so important. That's so important.
We told you that Nadine's our Guard Your Genius expert. If this is your first time on the show, she is our intellectual property attorney on the show. And a part of that is teaching you how to monetize your passion, guard your brand. So that's where it starts with knowing, oh my God, I can monetize what I love to do.
So here's one thing that I absolutely love about what you said. Just the, when you start to apply for scholarships and apply to school, you were giving an application, right? And nothing highlights more the first generation experience than giving your parent who doesn't speak the language a FAFSA form for financial aid. And they're looking at you like, what exactly do you want me to do with this, right? So that's why I think that what you do is so important, right? Because you bridge the gap, right? So can you talk a little bit about the actual tools that you connect people with?
Yes. So because of that, I do remember asking my parents, I need your income tax. Mind you, I'm 17 years old.
They're like, nope.
And the first thing my dad said, no. Why do you need that for? You don't. And I don't know anything about it. I just repeated what my CAP advisor said was to bring the income tax. And my dad said, no. And so
who you been talking to?
What you up to? And it created this miscommunication between my parents and myself. And so many first generation college students see so many barriers when it comes, not that they don't want to be supportive, it's just the unknown, like what do you need it for and why and all of this. And so through that experience, I learned so much of like the importance of parents being informed, given the tools that they need to understand the pathway that their children are following while they're in high school, like what they're being advised on while they're in school. And so because that was a barrier for me and it was my personal experience, and it was not fun having to explain to my parents, I need it because, it's for scholarships, it's for this. And so because of that experience, I'm able to create and develop strategies, implement them in our program so that parents are informed as to what is going on. And that's what I do every day. I mean, something that started out personal experience, I do it every day for our parents. And every day they are so grateful to be given those tools because it is very confusing for people who are born here, you know, as it is.
Yes.
And for parents who come from another country where they don't have financial aid, you know, to have them learn, or for them to understand, it's a lot more work.
Plus the distrust, right?
Yes,
like, why do you want this personal information? There's, you know, they're so guarded about that.
Yes. So that's what I do. I create that bridge of communication between the student and the parent, and so that they are both on the same level of understanding when it comes to applying for college.
Yeah.
So we just assume that people know what Mexican American Council is, what we call MAC, right? And we just went right into it. But
let's back up a little bit.
Yes. Who is Mexican American Council, and what is it that they do, and how does that fall into what you do with
and where
and where
located?
Okay, so Mexican American Council is a nonprofit organization located in Homestead, and was founded in 1984. So when you talk about you know, leaders in the community, this is how Mexican American Council was founded, MAC short. So at that time, the dropout rate for farm worker children was above 85%. And so leaders in the community decided to get together to change those rates. So we're talking about, you know, for every 10 children that were entering kindergarten, about 1 or 2 were graduating high school. And so through partnerships and through, you know, events, you know, fundraising for scholarships to be able to give to these students and incentivize them to continue their post-secondary education, MAC was able to grow. I remember in 2015, we had 550 students participating in our annual student senior recognition ceremony, where the students are recognized with their scholarships. So started out with 20 graduates to 550.
That's amazing.
Yes, I am a participant of the recognition ceremony, and so it is very close to my heart. Graduated after I graduated from college. I was very fortunate to get accepted into the Peace Corps, where I served 2.5 years in Paraguay in South America.
Not in your title and introduction.
Yes, I hold a lot of titles. And yes, so through that experience, I was able to learn about community development, project management, and I learned so much because basically how to create a project with very little resources to no resources. So when I returned to the United States, my plan was to either go to another country or work in Washington, D.C., but was approached by Maria Garza, one of the founders of the Mexican American Council, and she gave me this idea of expanding the Mexican American Council to what it is today. So today I supervise 5 programs, major initiatives that will help a family just guide the student through their post-secondary education. And so we've been doing it since 2015, and we continue to be here. We now have over 120 students that graduated with the program, and I have about 80 to 90 students still in college. So we are seeking the retention in college, because now, you know, dropout rates for farm worker high school students is above 98%. So we know that goal has been accomplished and we're getting there, but now we're seeing the same rates we saw in the 80s for farm worker children in high school. We're now seeing them in college. So we are working toward that goal now.
That's amazing. What I just heard you say is that you guys are changing generations.
Yes.
Yes.
One, you are a prime example, going from being a participant in the program, going away, getting your degree, your education, the life experience, and then bringing it back.
Yes.
That's the goal for nonprofits.
That's exactly the goal.
Nonprofits want.
Yes. And it is so important to more than 90% of our staff is former farm worker, first generation college graduates. So a lot of what we do, a lot of the strategies that we have implemented for the community is based on personal experience. So every single barrier that we have faced as, you know, former farm worker, first generation college students, just breaking them down for all of our families. You know, you don't have transportation for something, or you don't have the money to pay for study abroad, or whatever barrier that student may face. We face it, we break it down, and we continue to achieve the goal that they wish to obtain.
What I love about that is that it seems like your solutions are very practical, right? Or you can't get there, let's figure out how to get you there. Oh, it's a money issue, let's figure out how to fundraise for that.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Exactly what
smart.
it is. Yes.
Now, I just want the guests to know, if you're viewing the show, it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and Nady and Marilu have yet to do Spanish. They think that we forgot, but we have not. So we're gonna just put that out there again. So between now and the end of the show, Natalie and I will learn a little bit.
Tú estás ready. El español mío es no es lo mejor. No sé por qué, porque en mi casa no se puede hablar inglés. Donde mi padre no.
Oh, sí. Bueno, yo hablo un poco.
So she speaks a little bit of Spanish.
I was just telling her that my Spanish is like funny, which is crazy because you can't speak English at my mom's house. Like that's just not allowed.
For me, it's like a switch, and it's so funny because I speak Spanglish with our parents whenever I'm having the workshops. So strange, but in like a professional setting, it's so hard for me to like switch the Spanglish. So it's odd.
So it's not as easy as we.
It's definitely not as easy.
It has to just come out, I think.
Yeah. So my switch is on English right now, so I have to think about what I'm going to say in Spanish.
So that's
got it.
Natalie, since
that's
they
interesting.
Brought that up, can I ask a question about that before we go back into? So we have a staff writer that writes a script for us, you guys, and Natalie's always like, we could not have her writing a script, and we never ask the questions.
We use maybe one question.
We have to make sure we're asking the question.
I haven't even looked at it. I should open it.
As a side note, we still haven't actually asked him the question.
But you know what? This show would be proud of us, our staff writer, because a lot of times they answer the questions before we even ask. Like I was sitting here thinking about the questions in my head, and I'm like, Marilu is on it.
We covered a lot.
Yeah, we are. Like I'm going through it. We are, but we aren't asking the questions. It's okay.
But I have a question that I know for us who are not Spanish speakers, and so much of society, especially here in Miami now, is becoming Spanish speakers. So how do we learn to, like you said, it's even harder for you to turn it on and off, right? So how do we learn to identify the language well enough so that we can begin to become more bilingual ourselves? And what's some tricks for us? Because it's not easy. Like you said, when you've learned, if it's not easy for you to switch it off that has learned both languages since birth, imagine for us who have learned one language and now trying to learn another one, how hard it is to remember both and do it grammatically correct.
Well, before I answer that, I just want to share, right before the show, I was sharing my experience in college. And, Natalie asked, how do you like to pronounce your name, Marilu or Marilu? And I'm like, well, for a really, really long time, I was okay with Marilu. They go to college, predominantly all white university, and started realizing how important it was for me to speak up about my background, because I did not meet another Mexican in the entire university in the 4 years that I was there. So, I would see things and realized a lot of these students, my friends, my college friends, were not exposed to, anybody from my type of background. So started practicing with, whenever I introduced myself to, my name is Marilu, so that they could work toward, something different, and a lot of them did. And it was so amazing. And to this day, I'm friends with them and all of that. But it is so important to be open-minded more than anything. You hear somebody speaking Spanish and ask, it's okay to ask, like, oh, what did you just say? Can I repeat? I want to learn, just being open-minded about that, I think is so important for everybody. One of the programs that I oversee is our Homestead Miami Mariachi Conservatory. And we work with kids from kindergarten through 8th grade. And our main, one of our goals there is so that we are able to maintain the Mexican culture for these children, because being first generation, a lot of the times we lose our culture, our traditions, like Day of the Dead is coming up in November. I don't remember ever celebrating that with my family. And now as an adult, through the Homestead Miami Mariachi Conservatory, I I remember going up to my mom and just asking her, why didn't we do this? And she's like, well, we didn't think about it. We didn't think you were going to lose out on it. So for a lot of first generation students, one of our biggest challenges is learning Spanish. So I think we're on the same boat as everybody else, like where we have to put ourselves out there to learn Spanish. So,
but let me give you a hack. Yeah. I think you might agree. Novelas.
Yes.
If you watch,
that's the soap operas, you guys.
Listen, they are so dramatic and interesting and engaging that if you just watch it without the subtitles, you'll start to be like,
you'll catch
on. He's the messy one. You know what I mean? Like you'll start to catch it. So I think that's TV.
Yes.
Without the sub,
it does help.
It will help. Yeah.
Okay. Now I learned. So I lived in Brazil for 2 years and had to learn Portuguese. And she is right. I took classes and everything, but I felt like I learned from speaking with those who were fluent and not speaking Spanish.
Yes.
I mean, not speaking English, but actually speaking Portuguese and asking like, can you repeat? And a lot of times we use their hands, for them to explain to me, or they will point things. But then I felt like I understood it more when I watched the soap opera.
Yeah.
It was like so clear.
Because you're engaged.
I had the captions though, but it becomes, I was able to hear it more and see it and connect it. And then when I was able to communicate with people and immerse, I felt like I learned the language a lot better than when I was just in the class.
Yes. So and that's great advice for sure. Yeah. I also had to learn Guarani when I was in Paraguay. So yeah, definitely. I think I understand it a lot better than I can speak it. So
me too.
But you have to really put yourself in the community to be able to just you have no other option but to speak the language.
And I think that's one of the questions was just one of the importance of minority or
it was, listen, you have me going back to this list. It was about what was the importance of mentorship. We talked about that. And also the importance of having tools and education in minority communities. Like, why is it so important to have access to different tools and resources?
Yes.
And I think you started talking about that and you touched on it a bit already.
Yes.
But if there's something else that you want to share, okay, good.
That's it.
You talked about I think what she did as well was she talked about preserving the heritage, and the culture. And I think that's so important. And that's why I think I can speak for both Natalie and I when I say, as our company, why we're so impressed with the Mexican American Council is because we love that you focus on preserving the culture and providing resources to minorities that are your background.
Yes.
And I think that was a good point. A lot of times as minorities, we try to conform to the environment that we're going into rather than helping the environment understand who we are and let them conform to our culture.
But I do feel it goes both ways because had I not gone to college, I would have never been exposed to any other cultures besides my own. So and we do that at MAC is we expose our families to things that they have never events, experiences that they have never gone through, and then at the same time remembering and maintaining those traditions.
And I think that's a good thing for business women. When you go into an environment, learn their culture, but also give them the opportunity to learn you too.
Yes.
And that comes with knowing your own culture. And that's why we appreciate that you provide programs to not only preserve the culture, but also to educate them on the environments that they're going into and how to hold their identity in those environments. It's a lot of times we feel lost because we don't hold on to our identities,
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I like the fact that you all are now working with the students who are in school away at college, because it is difficult to go away from home for the first time.
Yes,
going away from home, but then going somewhere in an environment that's totally different from where you are, and not having anyone in your family possibly who has experienced that, who can relate. It helps to have the support system that they can reach back to, and that's continuously reaching out to them to make sure that they remain successful and not come home because it's hard.
Yes.
Because it can happen easily. And I've seen it, happen where people are like, I was by myself, no one understood, all those different things. So I think that is going to make a huge impact on all of those kids who are going away and their families.
Yes, and
That's
we do.
really cool.
We have that. We currently have a student that just got accepted into law school. Another one is pursuing her master's degree, and she's been in our program for 6-7 years now. And so we are starting to see the what we're seeing is like meeting them goals, but they keep going on their own. So a lot of the times, a lot of teenagers, all they need is somebody to just push them just a little bit, and then they will go on their own and just achieve all these amazing things that we're seeing now with our students.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
you're seeing the fruit of all the work.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
What came to my mind, the fruit of your labor.
I love that.
And of course, it's a team effort. Like I said, I have an amazing team. So shout out to them.
Shout out to the team.
Shout out, Maxine.
Everybody, we would not be able to do everything we do without all of them. So we love our team.
That's perfect. So as we close out, Nady, do you have a tip? Do you have something for us today?
Listen, I have a tip, and it's not related to the law or to business, but I have to share it. Can I do that?
Of course.
So let me give you a background. I had a meeting with a client today, and it ended this week, and it ended with her saying, "Hey, do you mind if I close out in prayer?" Which, what does that say about the type of clients that, I'm blessed to have? The fact that she wanted to close out with a prayer. And she said something during her prayer that I wrote down, because I feel like you can't guard your genius or anything if you aren't thinking about life in this manner. And she said, as she was praying, she said, "May your week be filled with meaningful productivity, which in turn grants you the joys of having guilt-free breathing room on your schedule." Isn't that like beautiful? Because as women, when you do have like breathing room, you feel like I have to fill this with something. I can't
we
like,
were just talking about
there's
that.
something I need to be doing. So when she said that, I was like, oh, I have to make a mental note of that, because I am surrounded by women who struggle with feeling guilt-free about resting. So that is the tip. I think it's the best tip I've given on this show.
I love that. And we were just talking about that right before we came to the show. We were just talking about having guilt-free rest.
Natalie was like, "Sharon, you need that." And I was like, "Natalie, sometimes when I'm resting, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I feel guilty. I'm like, I should be doing this.
I should be doing something.
Being a good business partner, or I don't get this taken care of, then this person is waiting on me." And I'm thinking, we're all integrated. So if I'm slacking, I'm making the team slack. But Natalie always reminds me that if you're not healthy, if you're not rested, you're also making the team slack.
And it'll be there. The world is not going
to. The
crumble.
world will be there.
It'll be there.
So,
it's fine.
So we have to ask you before we leave, and because it's Hispanic Heritage Month, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to tell the world who's watching, and we say the world because we speak into existence right here. Nady says that Natalie and I are the manifestation queens, right? So we claim that the world is going to be seeing this, right? What is it that you feel like there's something we should know this month that you've always felt like, I wish if I could tell people this, if I had the opportunity, I would tell them this as relates? Anything. It doesn't have to be business, anything. If there's something from the work that you do, something with, like you did earlier today, about be open to learning each other's culture.
Yes.
What is it that's something you would want?
Yes.
Viewers. And I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
Sharon is good for that.
No. And, I do think about that. And it's a question that I let our students ask themselves, what is your purpose? And find a purpose, find a mentor, something that's going to make you happy, and follow that passion, because through that passion, you're able, it's contagious and it makes other people happy. So I would say, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you feel that you need help. So that's what I would say.
That's awesome.
It's a beautiful way to end the show.
Tell us, where can we find you on socials? Where can we find you, and where can we find Mac?
Okay, Mac. You can find us on all social media platforms. MEXM Council. That's our tag. And then I'm Marilu Villa 06 at Facebook and Instagram as well.
Perfect.
I am at Guardio Genius on all platforms.
Perfect.
You can follow us on Enterprise Empress. You can also see the show on Miami Community News Facebook channel, as well as YouTube. Yeah, you can always go to our website and join our newsletter so you can know what's happening with Natalie and I and our companies. We tell
companies,
you all the time,
plural, okay?
Yeah, our companies.
Yes, plural.
Sometimes we
are all over the place, but it's
sometimes
okay.
we can't believe we have companies, functioning companies, not just written down, but actually real functioning companies. But yeah, make sure you follow our newsletter and make sure you send us messages, you guys. Remember, we're not influencers, we're engagers. We want to talk with you, we want to connect with you, and we want to become better by engaging with you. So wear your crowns and wear it well.
Wear it well. Until next time, thank you, Ash, for